Welcome back to another episode of the 10 Piece Podcast. I'm your host, JAA, also known as Kyrie Nerving, also known as Alan Biverson, also known as Nobi Bryant, also known as Tyra Skanks. Here again to bring you the NBA news that you absolutely cannot use. And if you get into random arguments with friends, these are some of the hot takes that can either make you look really good or really foolish. But either way, welcome back. So happy to see you again. As last week I did come with another episode, attempted to skip Bayless challenge. That was an epic fail. So we're back to talk some more shit. Not about him, because that fossil doesn't like to pay attention. So, just going to move on with our lives. And let's go ahead and get this shit popping like a stripper at All-Star Weekend. Number one, the blown call heard around the world. Some of you may or may not have heard, which you should have. This past Tuesday on December 3rd, with 7:50 left in the fourth quarter, James Harden had a fast break dunk that went through the rim. Okay, so the basket should have counted. The dunk went through, then bounced back up and around. And they basically called a no basket. Now at that point, the Rockets were up 13 on the ailing Spurs. Regardless, they blew the lead and then went to double overtime and then lost the game by 2 funky-ass points. The Rockets said that they were submitting this to the league, which, by the way, costs $10,000 to submit, to contest something like this. They're saying that they hope that either they get awarded the game or they get to play the last 7 minutes and 50 seconds of the game against the Spurs. I don't know which is dumber. They're both pretty fucking stupid if you ask me. But I'm gonna have to go with no. Gonna have to go with a hot, crisp no on the both of those. First of all, okay, the missed call, that happens. It's the NBA. Refs aren't perfect. We certainly, have heard about them, potentially ruling certain things in their favor because of mob ties, mafia ties, whatever. But, they're human, and they blow calls, and sometimes they want to show up players and coaches and prove that they've got the biggest dick on the court. Does that make sense? Absolutely not, but it's a thing that happens because you see them give unnecessary texts, you see them make stupid-ass foul calls all the fucking times. The refs are basically just trolls in striped shirts that are necessary in order for the game to take place. You can't have a game without referees, and apparently referees can't come to work with a real moral compass. But regardless, this is dumb. But at the end of the day, it all falls back on the Houston Rockets because, bitch, you were up in the fourth quarter. The game went to double overtime. So that means you had 2 chances to put it away, and then you lost by 2. You can't be mad at the stupid-ass refs for that. That's y'all's fault. Well, that's what happens when you don't play defense in a Mike D'Antoni system against a Spurs team who's pretty much given up on everything, including themselves. So, at the end of the day, it's totally on Houston that this happened. The fact that they lost, not a blown call. But those 2 points, they might have made a difference. I've heard some analysts say things like, from a momentum standpoint, if that dunk would have gone through and those 2 points would have counted, then potentially, that would have caused the Spurs to completely have given up, or the Rockets could have made some adjustments and went ahead and gone into, okay, well, this is a blowout. Let's go ahead and, put the bench in for the rest of the fourth quarter, whatever. Regardless, you lost that game, Houston. You lost it. Those 2 points didn't make that big of a difference. Because at the end of the day, double overtime, that's 2. 2 of them things. And you... Anyway, moving on to number 2. Speaking of the Spurs, rumors continue to surface and flare up about a trade package that would send LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan to the Miami Heat for anybody basically not named Jimmy Butler. Now, they continue to shoot these rumors down, but, the way DeMar DeRozan got treated, we don't really tend to believe him too much. He thought he wasn't going nowhere in Toronto. Toronto was like, hey, man, you are man, 10,000 grand and all that. And then Kawhi Leonard called. Well, he didn't call. The Spurs called and was like, hey, man, we'll give you Kawhi for DeMar. Peace. The Pistons said, hey, man, we'll give you a bag of Skittles and whatever else for Blake Griffin over to the Clippers. Clippers said, peace. This is definitely what happens when you don't have a no trade clause, or when you're not at that level of stardom. Now, don't get me wrong, DeMar DeRozan is nothing to sneeze at, but here you have a player who was in Toronto, and they continue to have the best record in the Eastern Conference every fucking year. The same thing happened. Best record in the East. This is finally Toronto's year. Are Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan going to find a way to break through? Here comes LeBron James in the conference finals. Here comes LeBron James in the conference semifinals. Here comes LeBron James in general. So, finally, the Raptors were like, well, we're just going to continue to believe in DeMar, and he's our guy, and this is going to work. Spurs call. Hey, bruh, cough him on up. We'll give you Kawhi. We know he out of here anyway, so why not take a chance? You said Kawhi? And you gonna give us Danny Green? Click. And DeMar was out of there. And we saw what happened with that. So, I don't know. At this point, I feel like the Spurs are trying to rebuild, or they're basically going into full-in shutdown mode at this point. So who knows what's really going to happen. I think Pop should have walked it out when Timmy did, but that's just me. I mean, I can understand why at this point, because Timmy's on the coaching staff and he needs someone to kind of learn under and learn from the coaching standpoint. He learned from him under the players' roof, but now as a coach, he needs to learn how to be able to manage the team, how to be able to control the players, you know, as far as like continuing to keep their composure, this, that, and the third. So we'll see how that turns out. I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge's prime is gone. DeMar might be in his or past his. I don't really know who that would help out, because all the Heat would be doing is giving up probably a bunch of rookies, which are helping them out tremendously this year, especially in moments where Jimmy Butler is not available. You don't have Dion Waiters. Myers Leonard is basically... Kelly Olynyk was great in Boston. He's been in Miami, and he's basically been... So, but a lot of that fits together apparently, because they have one of the better records in the league. I'll talk about them in a minute. So we'll see how that pans out. There's still talks of other trades of like Kevin Love to Portland. That's the biggest one I've seen that continues to gain ground. So IDK, man, we'll see. Number 3, Fizzled Out. David Fizdale, former head coach of the New York Knicks and the Memphis Grizzlies, was fired from the Knicks with an overall record of 21-83 throughout his tenure, which, listen, I know women who have had pregnancies who lasted longer than David Fizdale in New York. It's not the coach's fault. Y'all know whose fault it is. It's that faulty-ass front office management. Like, your owner is the problem. Your GMs have been the problem. Y'all hired Phil fucking Jackson because they were about the fans of New York, which we know y'all motherfuckers get fucked. The fans of New York were about to protest outside of Madison Square Garden, and you hired Phil Jackson as a way to calm them down. And look where that got you. Nowhere. I don't get it. Now, if you say things like this in Madison Square Garden, you'll get escorted out. Charles Oakley expressed this very same opinion, and you know, James Dolan had fucking security come in there and try to box him and pull him out. Now, we're not just talking about any old Charles Oakley. We're not talking about Oakley shades. We're talking about Charles, bitch, I beat your ass, Oakley. And y'all tried to escort him out, and he put his hands on people. What? The New York Knicks are a certified dumpster fire that no one seems to be able to put out. Because you have an owner who would rather walk around barefoot and play music in a band that sucks than actually pay attention to the basketball team that's making him the most of his money. So when you have a roster of chicken nuggets who can't really do shit, who don't believe in the coach, who is one of the biggest media markets out there, you couldn't land a free agent because, again, your front office is shit. What are you supposed to do if you're David Fizdale? All he could do was try, and that's what he did. Now, I feel like this is the second team within the past, 3 to 4 years has given up on him. Now, I feel like it's mostly because he's very headstrong as a coach. Like the situation in Memphis was, they wanted to tank. He didn't want to tank. You know, him and Marc Gasol got into it. I'm not 100% sure still what that was about. And now this whole thing with the Knicks, man, hopefully he gets somewhere where he has a front office that actually has his back and players who want to win and who are willing and ready to go out there and run through a wall for him. Otherwise, It's just going to be another waste. So we'll see how that turns out. Number 4, let's talk about the Clippers. They are currently 4th in the Western Conference, and what? Why? How? Doesn't make a lot of sense, honestly. They also lost to the Bucks the other night, 91-119, which does not tell the story. That was a blowout. 119-91. It sounds like, oh well, it wasn't that bitch. It was bad. I'm talking about like 30, 40. It looked like an NBA Jam score at one point. It was horrendous. And now the last time they played the Bucks, oh, Kawhi's out with load management, and Paul George is still out altogether. You had them both this time. Y'all was at full fucking strength. What happened? Can somebody, Clippers, can you, what? Make it make sense. Now, I've heard they still haven't had a full practice together with everybody, which I don't know what the fuck that's about. But y'all might want to go ahead and get in the gym without there being an actual game, because this is not the league where you can just throw motherfuckers out there and just wing it. It's not really how that works. So, pull together some practices, figure out who's going to be your orchestrator and facilitator and your main playmaker, and figure it out. Doc Rivers is too good of a coach for shit like this to be happening with a roster like that. You got a 2-time final MVP, a former first-team All-Defender, MVP candidate in Paul George, and you got fucking Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. What is the what? What? I don't get. I was one of those people who at the beginning of the season was like, oh shit, the Clippers are going to be the best defensive team. They're going to be able to score on offense. They're going to hold teams to 60 points and a stick of gum. Now, teams are going in there and walking out with a smiley face. Like, oh, we got the Clippers tonight? Cool. So y'all did all that for nothing? I don't know. We'll see. Number 5. This was petty, but I call it the Vet Move of the Week. It's going to be a new segment here on the 10-Piece Podcast where throughout the week, if there's something that happens that is considered a vet move, we're going to talk about it. So this week, the Vet Move of the Week, now stick with me because this is layers on layers on layers. So, Jordan Bell checked into, first of all, it was the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Oklahoma City Thunder, who was led by Chris Paul. Jordan Bell checked into the game with 1.1 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter with the Timberwolves up 121-119. Karl Anthony Towns was at the free throw line attempting to put the game away for Minnesota when suddenly Chris Paul could be heard shouting to the referee, "Jersey untucked, jersey untucked," which is a delay of game if you know. So, the referees noticed it and they basically called delay of game. Now, what no one else paid attention to, apparently, was that this was their second delay of game. So, the Timberwolves got penalized, giving the Oklahoma City Thunder a free throw, and I think possession, too. Regardless, then there was like a Hail Mary pass, which led to an open layup, which pushed the game into overtime, which pushed the Timberwolves out of the door with a loss. Now, listen. I'm petty. But that is a real vet move. Salute to Chris Paul for that one. I mean, it gave his team the win. People hate Chris Paul. People say, oh, that's just petty. Listen, when you're not as athletic as you used to be and you're playing with a bunch of kids who don't really know much, like, you know, that one player whose name I can't think of who owes Tiana Trump money for services. When you've got that kind of roster, you got to pull all the tricks out of the bag to win games. And clearly, it works. So, Vet Move of the Week goes out to Chris Paul for helping his team secure a win in a very, very, very petty manner. Number 6, the Bootah Jazz. Now, these fuckers lost 110-130 last Sunday to the Raptors, but again, kind of like that Clippers-Bucks game I was talking about before, the score does not tell the story. They got their backs blown out, okay? Probably like what Home Dude did to Tiana Trump. They got fucking... It was bad business. I'm talking about, I saw that score at one point and said, bitch, is somebody playing 2K? What is... Huh? Like, it was just bad. Now, then after that, they got blued out by the 76ers and then got stomped out so bad by the Lakers that LeBron James was out there without his fucking shoes on, giving them away to fans, cheering and standing and dancing on the sidelines. Here's the thing. When they acquired Mike Conley Jr., I was like, okay, Now, aside from Utah's weird racist fan base, and aside from the fact that, that organization continues to uphold Karl Malone, who is an alleged pedophile, who allegedly knocked up a 13-year-old girl when he was allegedly in his 30s, 40s, regardless, all that aside, I was like, you know what, I like the Jazz because they're a team of players that I like. I've rooted for Mike Conley. I appreciate Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, the Stifle Tower. He's in there doing what he's supposed to as a big man, grabbing rebounds, playing defense. He lacks a bit on offense, but it's not really his fault. You got Donovan Mitchell, who I feel like got robbed his rookie season for Rookie of the Year because he did the damn thing versus Ben Simmons, who had already been in the league for a season, even though he wasn't really playing whatever. Regardless, it's a team of players who I enjoy watching, who I appreciate their game and what they bring to the court, and now they're out there just stinking the place up. Like, I've literally gotten into Twitter arguments with people about this. Now listen, contrary to popular belief, I don't like to argue. So when I do it, it makes me angry because I'm like, I could be doing this energy, I could be using this energy doing this, I could have a fucking V8 right now. Instead of sitting here on Twitter arguing with you about how Mike Conley is underrated. But here we fucking go, bitch, you gonna get these hands. Like, so when you make me look bad when I got on the table, and I'm too big to be getting on anybody's fucking table, but when I get on the table and root for you and then you make me look bad? Nah, bruh. So I don't know what the fuck is going on with Utah. Your head coach looks like a soggy Marvel villain. Like, you got a roster full of talent, so what the fuck is really going on there? How are you guys not producing at that level? I think that without Mike Conley right now, who has also kind of been riddled with injuries, he's not been playing that well. But essentially he was brought there to take Donovan Mitchell off the ball because Donovan Mitchell is a true shooting guard. He's not really meant to play point. He can, but he doesn't really have the vision or the ability to facilitate like a true point guard should. So he's better off ball where he can score, where he can get put-back dunks, where he can get open lobs, where he can play around on the perimeter, and also give him a chance to work on his spot-up shooting. You can't really spot up and shoot if you already got the ball in your hands. So that kind of hurts just because, like I said, I was rooting for y'all to do well, and now you're not, and it just kind of makes me feel bad and look bad. I like being right. So fix it. Number 7, injury report. The Nets are still expected to be without Kyrie until like December the 11th, which is coming up soon, but still, he's been out for quite some time with shoulder issues. And I think the issue is, above the shoulders and between the ears. Kyrie also put out like some long-ass dissertation on fucking Instagram about how in this day and time, it's about the media versus the players and how people get scrutinized for wanting to play a game that they love, and the media makes players out to be bad guys and this, that, and the third, which I get that. Kyrie is a very deep individual. But also, let's not overlook the fact that not too long ago, you yourself were involved in some sort of scandal with, when Kalani, didn't she try to kill herself? And you and party next door or party upstairs or the roof down the street, somebody, y'all were all intertwined in this weird little thing that was going on. And you think the earth is flat. Kyrie, you are a phenomenal basketball player. I salute you for all that you've gone through as far as your struggles with mental health, which you'll talk about openly. And I appreciate you as a person. But, bro, if you don't want to play, just say you don't want to fucking play. If you're not having fun anymore and the game has stripped away from you the joy that it once brought you, then stop. You had issues in Cleveland because you didn't want to be little brother to LeBron. Then you got to Boston, you didn't want to be big brother to them. Now you're in Brooklyn, and where there's smoke, there's fire, and bitch, you are burning. So, figure it out. Much respect, no disrespect to you at all, but I don't get it. Whatever. And to make matters worse, like most teams, whenever Kyrie is out, they play better without him. Like, as of right now, the Nets are, 8-3 without Kyrie instead of 4-7, which is what they were when he was on the court? Yikes. Next up, shout out to Rodney Hood. Prayers up to him. He tore his left Achilles in Friday night's game for Portland versus the Lakers. So now Portland is without Rodney Hood, Nurkic, Zach Collins, and Gary Trent Jr. Somebody has cursed Portland. We're going to talk about them in a minute, by the way, but I don't know what the fuck is going on up there. Damian Lillard is one of my favorite players, and I hate the fact that he continues to stay there. I hate it because it means that he's not going to win. But I also like it because it shows a sign of loyalty. He's like, listen, I'm this team's best player, so it's my responsibility to carry them. I'm not just going to leave them in a hole without me. I've been here. I grew here. I'm going to take this team to the promised land. Now, anybody with a basketball brain knows that you actually won't, but it won't be for lack of trying on your part, and I hate that for you. I like CJ McCollum as a player and personality as well, but that team is just not built to win. Even when Nurkic comes back, if he comes back healthy, even playing kind of how he played before he got hurt last year, it's not going to make a difference because you guys are way too inconsistent and you don't have enough solid role players around you. You had one in Rodney Hood, and now he's hurt. So we'll figure that one out. Zion Williams is now expected to be out until January. I feel like they're doing the same thing with him that they did with Ben Simmons, with Joel Embiid, they did with Blake Griffin, and all these other rookies who sat out their first year. I feel like he's not going to come back until next season. Because at first it was, he's been hurt everywhere, hadn't he? Got hurt in high school. I'm not ashy, I was just itching, don't judge me. He got hurt in high school, hurt in college, hurt in the summer league, and then hurt in the preseason, and now in the regular season he's out. And at first it was like, 6 weeks. It's been 6 weeks. Now they're saying he's going to be out until January? Just say he's out for the season and move on. Don't continue to try to push this narrative, he's going to be back. He's going to be back and better than ever. We're going to have him in shape, yada, yada, yada. No. Just no. Number 8. Ooh. So this is going to be a rant. Just try to stay with me. It's going to come full circle as well. So the Kings, Sacramento Kings, are now 8-13. Luke Walton is their head coach. Brandon Ingram has been balling in New Orleans. Luke Walton was his former head coach. The Lakers now have the number 1 record in the NBA. Luke Walton was also their head coach. I'm going to stop you before you open your lips and say, they got AD and Danny Green and and Dwight Howard's playing well. Last season, so many people wanted to blame LeBron for the Lakers' problems, as opposed to looking at the coaching staff and front office. Now, here's my thing on that. If Luke Walton was that great of a coach, he had Brandon Ingram, he had Lonzo Ball, he had Josh Hart, and he had Kyle Kuzma before LeBron got there. And what were the Lakers doing? When playoff time hit, where were the Lakers? Outside somewhere picking up pebbles. They definitely weren't playing in the fucking game because they were never in playoff contention with Luke Walton as their head coach. And last week I apologized to Brandon Ingram because he's been balling the fuck out. And now he's in a different system on a different head coach, and look what's happening for him. Interesting, huh? Also, another one, Steve Kerr, who made a comment talking about if I would have taken the Knicks coaching job, that would have been me. Glad I came to the Warriors. Bitch, fuck you. You came to the Warriors because you saw what Mark Jackson built, and then you decided to capitalize on it. But now that you don't have 4 All-Stars in your starting lineup, you have the worst record in the NBA. They're the worst team with the worst record in the NBA. Now, if Steve Kerr is this great of a coach, he should be able to throw some fucking Flintstone vitamins out there and give them a winning record at the very least, 8th seed, maybe even 7th. You still got some talent. They're NBA players that get paid to play, do they not? So why is it you can't coach them to win games? Maybe it's because you're not that great of a head coach. And all that winning you did was because of the talent of your roster. Again, this was just a rant. I just want to talk about it because that kind of shit pisses me off. Mark Jackson did all that fucking work in Golden State and then got nothing for it. Fucking Luke Walton was, people, he was a scapegoat. No, he was not the scapegoat because they wanted to blame everybody but Luke. It's LeBron. It's the players. It's all this AD trade talk. No, because Luke Walton couldn't coach his way out of a fucking wet paper bag. He can't. I'm sorry. Point blank fucking period. That's just that on that. So, next up, number 9. This one I actually like because I didn't catch what happened until I actually saw it. So, Melo won the NBA Western Conference Player of the Week over James Harden and Luka and LeBron and anybody else in the Western Conference who's having a phenomenal fucking week and fucking season so far. He averaged 22.3 points, shot 57.4% from the field, 45% from three, and 88% from the free throw line, 7.7 rebounds, 2.7 assists, and the Trailblazers went 3-0. Now, what that did do, okay, it got the Portland Trailblazers to go, well, damn, okay, Melo's been balling. Let's go ahead and give him that full contract. Let's go ahead and guarantee that, because before they were saying, oh, well, Melo has until January to prove that he can actually play before the Portland Trailblazers are going to guarantee his contract. Portland said, we've got injuries left and right. This man came back, and he's been putting up buckets, putting up numbers for us, doing what we need him to do. Let's go ahead and solidify this contract and make it guaranteed. So by the NBA naming him Player of the Week, that kind of slick put the idea in Portland's head to go ahead and guarantee that contract. So salute to everybody behind that move, because that was a sneaky power play, which I appreciate very, very much as a Carmelo Anthony fan. Number 10, league standings. We're going to go ahead and talk about a few of these teams and also talk about what else is going on. So, as of right now, Milwaukee and the Lakers are actually tied for the number one record in the NBA. Both are 20-3. Well, Milwaukee's in the East, of course. So they hold the East down with 20-3, kind of like they did last year. They got Chris Middleton back. They're doing it with one definite superstar in Giannis and a bunch of great solid role players around him in Bledsoe, in Middleton, in the Lopez brothers. You know what I mean? And also Wesley Matthews, who I can't talk. Wesley Matthews has also made a bit of a resurgence as well. I've always been a fan of Giannis. I'm a fan of what Milwaukee is doing. I'm a fan of Coach Bud up there, who is showing that, you don't have to have 8, 10 superstars on your roster to make a great splash. You can do it with one solid player who doesn't miss games for load management, who rarely deals with injuries, who's willing to go out there and break his fucking neck every night. And that's what Giannis does, so salute to them. Number 2 is Boston, who is 16-5. They got Kemba back, thank God, because that injury he had a couple weeks ago was kind of scary. Fortunately, it was just some sort of concussion issue. He passed protocol. He's been back out there balling again. They're supposed to get Gordon Hayward back sometime this month, towards the end of it, I think, after coming, he came back from the ankle injury strong this year, was putting up numbers, then got his fucking hand broken. So he's coming back from that. Hopefully, he'll still be in some sort of groove, or he'll be able to find some sort of groove, because Boston will definitely make the playoffs. He'll be very beneficial. He'll definitely be a solid X factor in that. Number 3, 16-5. Number 3, the Miami Heat was 16-6. They got a bad motherfucker out there in Jimmy Butler. He hit a closing shot the other night and definitely went to the bench screaming, "I'm a bad motherfucker," which Jimmy Butler is that. Miami now has someone who can close out games. You got shooters. You got paint protectors in Bam and Olynyk and Myers Leonard. So as of right now, Miami definitely has a deep, solid roster, unless they find a way to fuck that up. Coach Spoelstra is a great coach as far as development goes, and as far as actually knowing how to keep a team composed and how to actually keep the guys' attention. So, salute to them. Actually, they play tonight against the Bulls at 6 o'clock, which, I'm always excited to see the Bulls play with their young roster, see what they're going to do. Fred Hoiberg is an idiot, but we'll see how that goes. And number 4, Toronto, 16-5. And tonight they actually play the 5th-seeded Philadelphia 76ers, who are, they play at 6 o'clock tonight. Now, last time this game took place, Joel Embiid was held to 0 points. Philadelphia was actually my pick to come out of the East because I felt like they had the best roster top to bottom. But, I don't know. Somebody actually made a joke on Twitter I saw. So Jimmy Butler is apparently fining Bam Adebayo, I'm Blue Dabba. He's fining Bam $500 every game that he doesn't attempt a three. Somebody said he should have done that in Philadelphia with Ben Simmons. If Ben Simmons gets a healthy 3-point shot, he'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with. And the Sixers, they'll definitely see their stock rise. Like Giannis went and worked in his in the off summer. Now he's dribbling up, putting him in your face. If Ben Simmons can also get that kind of confidence, we'll see how that goes. So, but yeah, Toronto at Philadelphia is definitely going to be a great game tonight. I'll definitely be looking forward to watching that one. In the Western Conference, the Lakers are currently 20-3. They play the Timberwolves tonight at 9:30. I mean, of course, we know the Lakers has the best defense in the league. They've got the best paint protection in the league. Dwight is playing like he's got some fucking sense, even though he still, for some strange reason, thinks he looks like Android 16. I don't know. With the whole shoulders and the frohawk and now he's got the the dreads colored. I don't. Whatever. He's playing well, so God bless. The Lakers are going to be the Lakers. You got AD out there balling. You got LeBron out there balling. Those two fuckers combined for what? 70-something points Friday night against Portland? That's what's supposed to happen. When they brought AD to the Lakers, this is what they expected, and this is what they're getting. This is also why you don't really have to deal with too much load management, because what they're doing is blowing teams out in the first 3 quarters. That way in the fourth quarter they can rest. It's not rocket science. It's just being smart about your shit, Kawhi and the Clippers all together. Second seed in the Western Conference is Dallas Mavericks with a record of 16-6. They play the Sacramento Kings tonight. But anywho, number 3 in the Western Conference is the Denver Nuggets with a record of 14-6. They play the Nets here in about an hour, actually. And fourth are the Clippers, who we just talked about, with a record of 16-7. They play the Wizards tonight at 6 o'clock, which should be a win for them. The Nuggets versus the Nets, I don't know how that's going to go for them, just because, the Nuggets have been kind of inconsistent with their play, and if Jokic isn't playing well, which he hasn't been, the Nets have enough of an inside presence to potentially, shut him down and keep him from being a factor in the game. And if that's the case, who else are you going to rely on then? So we'll see how that pans out. The Clippers should improve to 17-7 tonight against the Wizards, but, they're being inconsistent as fuck, so who knows how that's actually going to turn out. The regular season is, everybody thinks, the regular season is boring. It's 82 games, which they're talking about shortening, which, whatever. But still, teams out there like the Lakers, like the Bucks, they still value the regular season because they know what it can do for you down the road. The way it can build up team chemistry in those blowout games or in those tough games or in those close games. They know what a good seeding can do for you, especially in a tougher conference like the Western Conference. They know what it can do for you come playoff times, how it builds up your fan base to get ready to see you make a long playoff run. So all these people and all these teams who are devaluing the regular season is going to come back to bite you in the ass, and it's going to be funny. Ha, 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 ha. On that note, that is all for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you as always. Shout out to DubsCP for the intro. I'll be sure to put his YouTube stuff in the description box as well. Tune in next week, hopefully, for a new episode. Hopefully no more bullshit happens. But again, if it does, that means I won't have anything to talk about. So, thank you so much for tuning in. And as I'm going to end the show every episode until it changes, Jamal Crawford is still not on an NBA roster. Can you give me a logical reason why? No, you cannot. So fix it. Somebody pick that man up and give him a fucking job and a paycheck and put a ball in his hands and watch your team improve. It's really simple if you think about it. Till next time, be good or be good at it. Peace.